not enough to say how impactful the world of Dragon Ball as a series has been. It has been one of the biggest pieces of media in general, where fans will create hoaxes and series just because they really want to see more. Remember Dragon Ball AF? Even creating arcs of just having a evil version of Goku being into their own versions of Dragon Ball. Hey, at least they'll get that wish.
This man isn't black!
And there's some truth into those things, and even how they brought popular characters just because of the demand that they have in the fandom. Just like any series that are beloved, there are some oddities in its way that diehard fans will definitely know, or at least get a chance to know. There's the Sailor Moon having a US version of their pilot, there's Sonic's documented history of Sonic Extreme, and I can even go further with a lot of things that average people that are in these kind of fandoms wouldn't even know about until they dig in. But when I say Dragon Ball actually had a live action movie, I know what you're thinking. Why does Piccolo look like that? No, not that one. Whatever the hell that was. But I am talking about when these series were created by the fans. And this is going to be that from the time period that we're in, where these fan pieces usually come out and these just get heavily praised for all the work and dedication that is done. No, we're going back when Dragon Ball was really that popular here in the West. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the South Korean and the Taiwanese version of the story of Dragon Ball, or at least the first arc. But beforehand, I want to do some explaining to do here, because this would just sound like that I'm just finding these movies out of hand and just going with it. Well, you kind of be right with that, but I actually wanted to go into a quick little history lesson with y'all about Dragon Ball's dubbing history. I'm sure a lot of y'all will understand the history of how Dragon Ball's gotten here into America and a lot. It took in a small company to create a dub here and then distribute it around. That, hey, yeah, I'm just here to just give a frame of reference. This is Future Jarfy. So I pretty much just explained it as it just being distributed all across the US, when that's not really true. I just wanted to give clearance on this because, I don't want to sound dumb. But basically, the simplest way to say this is that distribution rights would happen where people would send them out and they would get test marketed in. So if, I don't know, you lived in Boston, in that metro area, you would have probably gotten Dragon Ball, but it would probably have a dub than someone in, like, I don't know, North Carolina would have had, until everything became more formal, universal, like the definitive. I just wanted to clear that up because I know that there would be that one person that would say, you forgot about this, or you didn't understand, and I'm here to explain. So I'm beating them to the punch. Gained cult-like followings all around the US until Funimation finally took over and did the whole series. But there's actually more into this, that Dragon Ball was actually supposed to come here before Dragon Balls, and this would be done by various groups in the 80s and the early 90s, because let's be real here, a lot of dubs around that time was fairly cheap to make, especially here in the West, because there's no animation requirement needed. If you can get a group of people to do it, you can probably get the show running. You just need voice actors. And besides other languages having their own dubs, our first dub would actually come from Harmony Gold, in which they would do a couple weird things that they would be changing. Such the oddities like Goku being named Zero and Yamcha being named Sadak. Yeah, what were they thinking? Can you really just imagine the timeline of us saying Zero became a Super Saiyan? We've also had the original Dragon Ball being dubbed by Funimation with the help of Ocean Dub and a lot of other places. Just because of 90s style censorship, it had to be changed in a certain way. But then there's the Blue Water dub, in which it does become more accurate, but it's not the voices, okay? There was even the Speedy dub, which a lot of people thought it was bootlegs of the Toei dub. And honestly, just a bizarre world that if you searched hard enough, you'd probably find something that everyone would either have a good laugh at or just to see how weird things could have looked. We're getting into this rabbit hole, but here's a video that actually goes into further detail that I recommend that you should watch if you are interested in looking into this. But nonetheless, let's actually begin these movies with Dragon Ball: The Magic Begins. Dragon Ball: The Magic Begins is the Taiwanese live-action rendition of the story of Dragon Ball. And more or less, this is a loose one for sure, because this originally released in 1990, but it was able to get a English dub for us in 2007. And which, I'm just going to say this, yes, I'm watching this in English. I have a life,
Interest in that.
It starts with the village being destroyed, and damn, that's metal. But as the village is being destroyed, these monks are praying with an invisible character, but Bob the alien, got into the building, and holy cow, is that a Super Sentai? Dragon Pearls. Yeah, I don't want to get copywritten. But the story is going to take a look for the home of these pearls as he gets zapped, and already looks like the villain has already started by grabbing 2 of them. But we get to see who Goku and Grandpa Gohan is, and actually, nonetheless, we get to see the showcase of the fun scenes and the effects that the Taiwanese were able to produce. And personally, it's goofy, and I kind of like it. I don't know, these kind of movies that I always see from a lot of lower budget movies just make me more surprised on how creative that they actually did these things. Afterwards, we get a characterization of Goku and Grandpa's personalities of being more fun and caring towards each other, and Goku more or less being naive than anything else. But as that section continues, we see Goku hunt, and a Jeep comes around and oh wait, where's her hair? Yeah, if you want to know anything, this is just Bulma. But you know, she has her dragon radar, and we're about to get into how the show usually does it, and Goku getting shot. But their interaction and pretty much being how similar it was into the anime and the environment, they pretty much just talk, and then they kind of become friends in some ways because of all of this. But Goku isn't actually Goku in this. He's actually called Monkey Boy and almost called Vito. I will call them their original anime names because guess what? It's too hard to remember sometimes. But we return home and see Gramps is under attack, with him trying his best to protect the pearls, and well, damn, but Goku comes quick and sees the damage, and he figures that Grandpa Gohan has passed away, and Bulma helps him find out who did this. We cut away into the blue man that's chasing the girl to be his wife. What a tone shift, right? Well, as they find Goku easily beats the pig, and yes, this is a black pig. Supposedly Oolong. Be happy that this was made in Taiwan and not in America. And also, what the hell? No worries, he's supposed to look like that. But afterwards of all that, we actually see them at gunpoint facing a cowboy and a parrot. Yeah, this is supposed to be Yamcha. You know what? Okay, I'll roll with it. But Goku starts to get into a duel, and it pretty much goes band for band. It's the anime, but it's more or less in their own way, in which, oh my fucking god, the CGI! But after all this, they call it a draw because Yamcha is scared of bitches. I always forget that when I watch Dragon Ball. And holy crap, rub this clip like a gem to do so. We figured about this, that he's afraid of bitches though, but by the campfire, they talk about all the things that they need to do to get the Dragon Pearls. And Yamcha is just sitting by the side because, again, he's scared of bitches. And we figure out they need to go and reach the Master Roshi to actually learn about this. And it's so they go on a quick little journey and a quick little adventure to go along to get to that way. And the following morning, we actually find out that Yamcha has his own pearl, and as it looks like that they're thrusting into this island. No Diddy. As they go and see Roshi, we're actually going to be talking about the visual. The movie really benefits from its environments of just being at where it is, because a lot of sets don't feel out of place in a lot of ways. It's just that the fact that it's not how the story looks, that it kind of just rolls off its own thing. Look, we're already seeing that this is willing to take things out of its own hands, so willing to give it a pass on those parts, but these sets actually look good of wherever they took photos of. They all go to the island and figure out what does the pearls actually do, but the Turtle Man asks for the challenger because Yamcha is a liar. I totally forgot to say that the Yamcha actually got there before they did, but anyways, as we see the eyes popping by Bulma, literally, but Yoshi is just itching for her. He immediately assumes that the challenger is Goku, and yeah, he finds out that Yamcha's lying. But the nonsense after, or the schmoo dancing, Nimbus actually shows up, and we actually see how Goku acquires Nimbus in this movie, because Nimbus needs a pure heart. They learn that you actually need 7 of these pearls, and these pearls will actually grant your wish. And Roshi requires a feat for actually giving that Dragon Ball away, and that is sea melons. Not the fruit, by the way. We're actually talking about bread. And so they decide to do a devious plan where Oolong actually uses his disguise ability and Bulma. And all I'm just going to say is this: Roshi needs a cold shower after all this.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
As they hit the pearl, there's actually a conflict that actually happens with the villains coming in and trying to destroy them. And yeah, destroying the island, by the way. But Goku and the gang gets off safe, and they regroup and they go to the village where the villains actually lie in and actually try to save the people. Because I totally forgot to tell you that the little girl that's tagging along with them is actually from the village anyways. But basically the plan is just to go full raid commando on them and going to attack them in all shapes and forms just to get to the center of things. They beat everyone that they can and they destroy everyone as they can into meeting into that final building. But the villains show up and they actually use Grandpa Gohan as bait to actually get them to stop and to get the last pearl from them. As the fight rages, he actually uses the village's people and to use a weird beam on them to actually make them all horde and attack them. Oh, but it takes a whole team effort as Nimbus saves Goku and they face off, and it takes a whole team effort but they actually get to destroy them and bring peace into all of this. And how do you ask? Because of this golden dragon. They got their wish. The gold doofus grants all their wishes, and Yamcha and Goku ends things by fighting into the credits. I think the best way I could describe this movie to someone that doesn't watch Dragon Ball, it is such a different movie that just takes the inspiration from it, that it actually becomes its own thing and it actually becomes more enjoyable. And I'm not saying that as because I liked it, but I'm just saying that as a way of just viewing this. I know a lot of times when we look at stuff like this, it's more of the question of how good does it adapt it. And I'll give my explanation later on why I actually enjoyed both of these movies, but I actually should actually start on the other one. Dragon Ball Son Goku Fight Son Goku Win is a Korean Dragon Ball movie in which, like the first one that we just talked about, actually goes through into the first arc of things, in which, in my opinion, this one actually goes more into the Dragon Ball lore. Okay, not lore, but more accurate to the adaptation of things. With the plot pretty much being that Goku is doing his thing and Bulma meets him, Bulma does the shooting, Bulma does the this, Goku does the that, they become friends, and they look for the Dragon Ball. Yes, it's literally not to a T, but it's so close to the T that it's not an issue in that way. And so I think what I'm just going to talk about is everything else around it. But we actually see a lot of things that in this that I will be talking about, especially in the visualized aspects, because look at this dragon. This dragon looks wonderful compared to this golden Rufus. But pretty much, main things that I would definitely talk about this movie that does a actual great job is that visually very well and very, not to a T, but a very good effort into this that actually makes me blush on how nice it does this. As it goes more beat to beat with a lot of things, we actually see this scene with the capsule, and how very, I wouldn't say feral Goku is, because Goku's actually, but there's a lot of things that I would actually say that's actually really good with this, especially the wiring that they use so Goku can jump around. But they actually find the sea turtle and they return the sea turtle back, and they actually see Master Roshi out of anything, in which they're rewarded with getting Nimbus. Why? Is because they gotta make this quick for how quick this movie is. But we get introduced to Oolong and all that shit. Goku decides to, well, not Goku, but they decide that Goku needs to be a little girl so they can actually stop Oolong, because guess what? Pretty funny to see Goku just do this. And plus, it's actually strange of how fast-paced this movie is, and even to the anime of Dragon Ball, because I did not remember how fast this was going. But pretty much, we get a scene with this Gundam, and it gets pretty much destroyed very easily, and Oolong decides to join into the party. They bring this fun little skit about them giving him a capsule, and whenever they say a pee-pee or poo-poo, then he has to go, I'm the age demographic for these jokes anymore, but yeah, what are you gonna do? But then there's a lot of passion that I've noticed with this a lot of times, especially with the hair and all that. It really seems like that they really looked into this and they gave so much into the reference of tea that they went and go beat for beat with a lot of this. Hell, you can even see a reference of this when they were in Bulma's house with this little screen cap of Goku. But then, you know, we meet Yamcha and we get to see the fight again. And you know what? I'll say this. I actually do like this fight more than the other one. As cheesy it is, but this one just has more fun into it that I think that they actually, again, I feel like that the Koreans went beat for beat with this, and it's actually really fun to just see how they try to do this. But again, you already know the fight that happens in the original one. He gets scared of Bulma, and he decides to be a little bitch about it. But then, biggest difference is that we actually get introduced to see Chi-Chi and the Ox King, in which, I'm being real with you, this shouldn't really be in the movie, not because of it feeling weird being here, but it just doesn't pace well. And I actually give that to the Taiwanese version, that it paces itself to the point that it actually makes that thing more valuable in that sense of having it's like this, but I'm not going to say anything else about that. Let's head back into it. But we pretty much keep going beat for beat with it. Roshi does a Kamehameha, Goku does it as well because he's a quick learner, in which we also get these cool scenes, all these other things that happen. Yamcha, and holy crap! We face Pilaf, and Goku does this for him. And Yamcha, relax bro, just relax. But after that, Yamcha puts in the work onto the robot, and it practically does no use. Anyways, Pilaf is pissed and traps them with the funny bomb. And dude, get away from the camera. If Pilaf actually summons Shenron, we actually get to see what happens. But knowing Dragon Ball, and I hope you do, you know what Dragon Ball does? Pilaf wishes for panties. I think your down bad membership renewed to 2030, Oolong. But anyways, we get to see the ending with Goku facing Pilaf into a fight, and I guess this would be my only criticism, would be that this was overly drawn out, that this fight took the longest and I even noticed it. But mainly Goku and the turtle all team up and they pretty much win, and it ends the conclusion of that whole story. Yeah, I wouldn't say that this movie was bad, but you can totally tell when they went too close into the adaptation that it kind of made things feel weird in a lot of ways, where again, I think that you didn't need to put Chi-Chi and the Ox King in it. I understood why you did, but if anything, that it would have been more interesting to just have Goku learn it because of Roshi's teachings in a different way. But hey, what are you gonna do? It's actually interesting to see how these things are created in different ways and ideas of Dragon Ball. If I had to give a one-on-one on which of these are better, I guess I would say the Taiwanese version was better in more ways, but I did find the South Korean one to be more faithful. That I actually would recommend, if you do watch these movies, is to watch that movie specifically. And overall, I think that it's the effects of this story and the attempt that it actually does, and it can actually be more paced better, but I don't think that either of these are bad. But it's more of an overall surprising to see how things like these two were made around the time, because Dragon Ball's fandom was in such an infant state, and especially being in these foreign areas, it would have probably been more of a weird treat to see these things happen if you actually got a VHS tape of this, where you would have probably either loved these or found humorous. And especially now with things being the norm of things have to be so accurate or so faithful to the adaptation, that there's a lot more cynicism in these kind of attempts, that it's more surprising to see how fun these movies are when they do this. Because let's be real, a lot of adaptations that we see now just feel like a cash grab, or at least in fan animations, that you can actually just feel the passion into these movies. In animation sets, it's just fun to see these things, and I think it's more of a commendation to seeing how these things are done, because I feel like now these would just be made and called cringe. Heyo, hi. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and leave a comment and whatnot, but I do just want to say this. I do have a coffee page. It's on my link tree, so if you do want to support me, that I'm only taking one-time donations, and if you want membership, it's only $3 and $6. I don't ask for y'all to do this, but if you want to help, that would be grateful. But out of everything else, did enjoy these movies, like I said earlier. I know this is a freaker thing with this, but I hope that these would actually encourage you to actually look for these and actually want to watch them, then just besides me just rambling on about these two movies that I just decided to watch back to back. But I hope you have a good rest of your day or night or whatever. Like the video, leave a comment, help me in the algorithm, and have a good time. Bye!